Hey people on YouTube land, Zach Hall here. I want to do a more in-depth review of the Holman KJV Study Bible. And this is kind of their new layout compared to their old edition. Now, I don't have an old one, but we will take a look at the new one here. It came in this nice sturdy box. It's very thick cardboard box, but you can kind of see some of the features of the Bible here on the outside. This is the Goatskin edition with the thumb index. Now on the back it has a brief synopsis about the KJV Study Bible, some of the features that it has, but it's pretty brief on everything there. And then here's the ISBN number for you as well if you want to look it up. But then we'll get the actual Bible out here. So here it is, the Holman KJV Study Bible in black goatskin. And it is a very nice cover, very thick goatskin, very soft and supple goatskin. It's also, I believe, leather lined with probably a calf skin, or this may be an imitation leather, but it does feel like it's actual leather. And it's got a gold gilt line around there. It's got perimeter stitching all the way around the Bible. And then on the spine, you have tooled in hubs. You have 3 of those. And at the top, you have King James, the Holy Bible, King James Version, actually spelled out, and then Holman at the bottom. Comes with 2 ribbon markers. You have a black and a red. The red's in the New Testament. The black is technically in the Old Testament. And you've got nice gold gilding all the way around the Bible. And you've got nice thumb indexing as well. You look at that. So it's pretty easy to find where you're going pretty quick. Now, what I love about this edition, and what I'm moving more towards, is buying Bibles that are not printed in China. And so this one's actually printed in Korea. And I gotta say, they did a good job for switching over. The only thing is that when they tabbed this guy on the block, you can see the cover wasn't quite pulled over all the way when they glued these pages together. So there's this awkward kind of gap there. I don't think it's going to affect the longevity of the Bible. You can see at the top how it was actually bound perfectly at the top. No gaps. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, but it, probably just process of switching from China to Korea, getting new things set up, teaching people how to do things. So other than that, though, this goatskin cover is very supple, very soft, very thick. Again, you can see the beautiful gilt line there. Awesome corner work that they did. And this one actually comes in now their handcrafted series, which is the only difference really is that it has a goatskin cover, but it has red under gold art gilt. This one just has the gold gilding, which I like. It's a nice classy look to it. Now, another interesting thing that they did with this Bible is that they put multiple in sheets in here, and this is very unique. So you can see typically this would be your tabbed in page, right? And then yet you have another one. So this is very unique. So you have another one there, and then you have your presentation page. So you have 2 sets of that, and they're both tabbed. They're all tabbed pages there. So you've got reinforcement upon reinforcement here with this Bible. And it's the same thing in the back as well. I'll show you that real quick. Okay. So you open this guy up. You can see you've got a bunch of these in sheets. Now, I don't know if this was just a fluke. I don't know if this was, again, just switching practices from China to Korea, and this kind of happened where they put in multiple thick in sheets. But I think this is going to even give the Bible more longevity. And it may be something that maybe they did find out it makes the Bible last longer. So it is a unique feature. But I did want you to be aware if you buy this, that may be standard on all of them. I'm not quite sure. But it can kind of give you an idea of size for this study Bible. It fits good in the hand. It is a good sized Bible, make no mistake about it. The text block is actually pretty thin for a study Bible. So if you look at the text block itself, that's probably only 1.75 inches. And with the cover and the spine, you get to probably 2 inches, maybe a little bit over that. The spine actually fits looser than the text block, so it's got an interesting feel to it. But as far as its size, put it out there. Here's the Life Application Study Bible 3rd edition in the King James. So you can see they're pretty much the same footprint and about the same thickness. And Course of Life application is actually a single column Bible. Doesn't have too many color pictures in it, which I like about that too. The Holman is going to be a double column format for you with references on the side. Another study Bible that's comparable to size is the Rock of Ages Study Bible in the King James Version. Again, this is almost an identical footprint, identical thickness. Difference being here is that the Rock of Ages comes with 4 ribbon markers. Holman has 2. The Rock of Ages is a double column as well, but it's not a full color study Bible, so it does not have colorful maps, illustrations, or anything like that. It's a pretty basic study Bible, but it is a nice one. And then lastly, for what I have to compare it to size-wise, is the Reformation Heritage King James Study Bible. And again, this is literally the same size. So you can see that study Bibles are pretty much all identical. It looks like maybe, well, this Reformation doesn't have as thick of a yap on it, wide of a yap, but they're about the same thickness as well. So it's about the same size. Now, I did do a review of the Thomas Nelson Study Bible, and I actually traded that in for this one. It was the same price, and for the same price, you got an edge-line goatskin cover compared to a goatskin paste-off liner. So I just think this is going to last a lot longer. Plus, the Thomas Nelson, even though it's beautiful and it's very, very cool Bible, it is almost like 2.5 to 3 inches thick. So it's a lot thicker than this Holman King James Study Bible. Now, getting into the Bible here, after we pass all of these in sheets, you get 2 title pages. So you get one that's kind of in a gray, and then one that's in a black. And then we've got the copyright and ISBN information on this page here. See, that's printed in Korea. And so if I read these numbers right, I think this is the 5th printing from 2020. So there's that. Then you have a table of contents. So you have all the kind of the extra features here at the beginning and at the end of the study Bible. And then every book has an introduction to it as well. And then they have a list here for the books of the Bible. And you can see too that it will lay flat there at the beginning. Now that hinge is stiff because of all of those extra papers they put in the front. But again, I think in the long haul, it's going to help with longevity. Then you have a books of the Bible in alphabetical order. Introduction to the Holman Study Bible. It was a very nice short note on studying the Bible and what they wanted to do with this particular edition. So definitely helpful. Read that. Features of the Holman King James Study Bible. So you can see here they have 1 cross-references, 2 study notes, 3 photos, 4 maps, 5 charts, 6 illustrations, 7 introductions, 8 timelines, and then 9 essays. And if you want to pause that and try to read that, you can. But here on the side, they actually show you what they're talking about. So this study Bible, on any given page, it has a suite of cross-references on the right side and on the left side of the page, so it's always on the outer column. You have study notes at the bottom in a 3-column layout. And then if you have any photos, they're at the bottom. And then some have maps as well. And then you have charts and then illustrations. And these illustrations are pretty cool. Then you have introductions, book introductions. You have timelines, and then you have essays or in-text articles that are pretty helpful. Then you have contributors here. These are kind of your big guys, the ones that had the editors of the Holman. So they pretty much took what everybody had and compiled it all together. And then what I like about this Bible and its openness is it actually has the contributors of every single book of the Bible, their qualifications, where they're from. And then you have essay contributors as well. And then here you're going to have list of maps, illustrations, and charts. So that way, if you kind of remember what the chart was about, but you don't remember where it was in the Bible or what page it was on, you can come here and look up the topic of that chart, map, or illustration. You can find the page more quickly. And this has abbreviations that's used in the study Bible. And then once again, you have another list of the books of the Bible. Then that's when you get into this interesting green paper that they have. So show you a difference in the color. So there we go. So you have this white paper for the Bible text, and then this green paper in the beginning. So you have here Steps to a Classic. That's written by Ed Bloom. I did read this. For the most part, I mean, you guys know me. I'm a King James guy. I'm a TR guy. It's pretty neutral in its take. With an article named Steps to a Classic, I would thought there would have been more praise for it in this article. It's not really negative towards the King James, but there's really not much positive. It's pretty much just actual history of how we got to the King James. And you can see that really there's a summarized timeline here at the end. Then you have the epistle dedicatory and translators to reader in this Bible, which is cool because Holman is one of the rare publishers outside of like local church or church Bible publishers that actually has put this in their Bible. So I really appreciate that. Sometimes you'll get the epistle dedicatory, but this has both. Now this is actually a note from the editors on both of those documents. So it gives you kind of a brief history. Then you get an epistle dedicatory to King James. That goes for 2 pages. And then you have your translators to the reader. And this is exactly like the one in the local church Bible publishers or church Bible publishers, Trinitarian Bible Society. It's all in there. And then you're going to have, after the translators to the reader, How to Read and Study the Bible by George Guthrie. So again, another great article there to read before you actually get into the Bible. Here's a little chart they have here for stages of thorough Bible study. And then lastly, before we get in the Old Testament here, you're going to have an article on the origin, transmission, and canonization of the Old Testament books by Jeremy Royal Howard. He will also write the same article for the New Testament once we get there. But this was a pretty helpful article explaining a lot of things. And here's a little chart in here as well. I'm sorry if it's a little low, guys. I'm trying to do the camera stand for you, and then here's a reason why Protestants eventually did reject the Apocrypha. They did not see it as a part of the Jewish Old Testament canon, and neither did the Jews. And you have Old Testament title page and then a book introduction page here. You have a very short introduction to every book that's pretty much lined out like this on every title page. And I kind of like how it goes from bigger to smaller down like that. It's pretty nice on the eyes. But it gives you just a general basic overview of the book before you get into the more detailed section here. So before every book, you'll have something that looks like this. You have circumstances of writing, some background, message and purpose. And then these break down in different, this can be different in every other book, but in Genesis, they're going to focus on human life, covenant, then the book's contribution to the Bible, the structure of it, there's an outline for you, and then a timeline of the events. This does not compare world events like the Life Application Study Bible, which I prefer their timeline. It's a little bit better. But this gives you all the events and their times in the book of Genesis. And then you get that outline continuing on the other page, and then Genesis 1:1. So you can see we have a beautiful, bold, dark font. This is a 9.5 font. It is very easy to read. And the way that this works, the paragraph dividers in the Holman Study Bible are actually larger verse numbers. So if you can see verse 7 here and verse 8 are small. Verse 9 is big, so that's the beginning of a new thought. So then you have smaller 10, 11, 12, 13. So if there's not a new thought, it's always in a smaller verse. Chapter numbers are big. You have also paragraph summaries. And at the top, you have in red the page number you're on and the corner of the book number. Again, we see these references here in the right column. And the way that they're set up, they have a bold figure reference, but also the letters are in the text. So, for example, here in verse number 9, you have a J. But then you would come out here and you would look for 1:9. There it is. And then you have J, that's the first reference. So Job 26:10, 38:8, Psalm 33:7, 95:5, 104:9, and so forth. And so you'll have little reference keys in the particular verse, but if you want to find the verse, you actually just look for the bold number out here on the left, and it will tell you. Then at the bottom, we have the commentary or the study notes. Now, there are no tags or keys here in the text to alert you that there's a note in the bottom. So if you want to see if there's a note, you have to look for the bold references here, right? So you have 1:1, and then down here at the bottom you have 1:2, 1:3, 1:4. So you have to find those and then read the notes on that. But you see here again, it's laying flat in Genesis. You do have some margin space here in the inner gutter to get that text out of there to be able to read it very nicely. It's a beautifully proportioned page. I like how it's laid out. You do have a margin here on the outside as well. And you can even take notes in the sections where maybe there's some white space here. Now the paper is thin, but it's pretty opaque. So you don't get much bleed through or ghosting. Now if there's like a colored map or something behind the text, that's going to be a little bit more noticeable than the rest of the Bible. But you can see here even on camera that the opacity of the paper is pretty good. It's all line matched, so that also helps with that. But just a beautiful, beautiful layout. And so we'll flip through here. Showed you kind of some of the features and introductions. Here's some of the in-text articles. You get these. Again, there's a list of them at the beginning of this book. But here you have the uniqueness of the Genesis creation story. And this is written by Kenneth A. Matthews. And again, there's kind of just a breakdown real quick of the creation story. And so anytime you have an in-text article, it's going to be on a green piece of paper, which is nice because it helps your eyes kind of make a quick decision of, what is that? Is it text or is it not text? Then you also have in this Bible reinforcement tape here in the beginning of Genesis. I think that's just another structural thing to make sure that the early parts of Genesis don't pull out over time. So I really like that publishers have been doing that. The Life Application Study Bible does the same thing. Near the beginning of Genesis, they run a reinforced tape up in the text block. That is going to help with Genesis not pulling out in the future. Which is nice because this is a larger edition. So, especially if you get the Goatskin Bible and you're shelling out the money for it, and you like this and you want this to be, your main Bible, whether that's preaching, studying, or, just devotional and just your main carry Bible, you want to make sure this thing's going to last for a while. So I'm glad that they not only reinforce the heavy pages, but also the text block itself. Now here is a map there for you. The good old Holman maps. And if you've seen Holman maps, they really haven't changed in a hot second. So they're always pretty reliable. Beautiful colors, always easy to read. Here is the trip of Abraham from Ur of the Chaldees to the Promised Land, and then even into Egypt. Now, I'll show you what I was talking about, the opacity. If we flip this page over, make sure I didn't flip too many. Okay. You can kind of see the map behind there, but even then, still not too bad. Okay. So if you wanted to mark in this Bible or highlight, I would use a gel highlighter, number one. Gel highlighters will be the best and probably will not bleed through your paper. Number two, if you're going to write in this Bible, I would definitely use a Pigma Micron, either the 005 or the 01. I don't think I would go much thicker in that for writing. If you're an underliner, you probably could get away with a 03 or maybe an 05. But I really wouldn't go much thicker. I probably wouldn't write in this Bible with like G2 gel pens. Even though I love those pens, the tip on those are so sharp, it may indent the paper. I think you would have some bleed through with those. But if you use more of the felt type archival Pigma Micron pens, I don't think you'll have any problems taking notes or underlining. And I plan to write in this Bible too. So once I do that, I may update you on that. Now here is an illustration for you. So this is some cool features all throughout this Bible. So it's kind of well-rounded. You have archaeological things, you have cultural background, you have context, historical context to books, you have maps and charts, cross-references, good conservative Bible commentary. Now, one sister did ask me, what is the slant of this Bible? Okay, so when you get a Holman Study Bible in general, like if you did the CSB, again, I don't read the CSB, but the notes pretty much are going to be the same in every translation that they do. They're just adapted to the translation they're in. So the notes in the King James are really the ones from the CSB. They're just adapted to the King James Version with King James Version words and cross-references. So they slant, obviously, Holman being the publishing arm of Lifeway, which is a Southern Baptist entity. It does lean Baptistic in its theology and its notes. So you have slightly within that Calvinist leaning on the notes of salvation. So, for example, if you went to Romans 8 and 9, you're going to get heavily God's sovereignty and even salvation and election. In baptism, you're going to not have anything defending infant baptism or advocating for infant baptism. You're going to have something that's going to be advocating for believers' baptism or credo baptism and baptism by immersion. So it does lean heavily Baptist in that as well. I didn't get to read too many notes in Thessalonians or somewhere in there, whether this advocates for the rapture or not, or something dispensational. But having a slightly reformed view of the salvation, I would imagine it probably leans slightly towards covenant theology. So essentially that the church replaces Israel, or that the church is the fulfillment, really, of the Old Testament church. So that God's plan always was to have Jew and Gentile in the same body, and that church becomes the main church instead of Israel being God's people and the church being God's people. Now the idea would be that in this new covenant with Christ, we are all one in him, and that is the true church. So that's where these notes probably will slightly lean more Baptistic, and their ecclesiology as well. Going to push more of a regenerative church membership. But other than that, you're going to have a conservative commentary. So you're going to have more of a 6-day creation view. You're going to have pretty much against homosexuality, against abortion, against things like that in the study notes. The only thing I did pick up on is that the notes on the roles of men and women are maybe slightly egalitarian, or they're soft complementarian. Again, if you don't know those viewpoints, I would probably look those up, study the issue for yourself. But I'm just trying to tell you where the study notes are coming from. So they're probably more soft complementarian. They do recognize the difference in roles for men and women, although they're going to push heavily for women doing a lot of things, except for being like a pastor or a preacher. So, these are just things I'm letting you know to be aware of in the study notes. Going to be very conservative. But again, a lot of stuff you're going to have in the study notes is going to be cultural studies, backgrounds, historical information, word studies, different things like that. So there's a lot more to the study Bible than that. But if, someone asked me what slant does it take, what theological slant does it take, I'd say it's slightly Calvinistic in its soteriology, and its ecclesiology or doctrine of the church. It's Baptistic. In its view of baptism, it's Baptistic. In its view of end times, it probably leans a little bit away from dispensational theology, maybe more pre-mill or soft post-millennial views in this study Bible. So again, just want you to be aware, so when you get it, you're not surprised by anything. But it is a great study Bible. So you can see just how clear and nice that font is. And the thumb indexing is awesome. I really love Holman's thumb indexing. I think they do it one of the best. So you have black for the Old Testament, and then you have red for the New Testament. So that quickly divides the thumb indexes for you. So your brain immediately knows, okay, red's the New Testament, black's the Old Testament. There's about 3 books per tab. Actually, I don't think there's any more than that. Let me check. Yep. So you have 3 books essentially per tab on this. So sometimes I do the cheat system. If anybody's had a thumb index, you kind of know what I'm talking about. But for example, let's look at this right here. So if you're trying to go to the book of Ecclesiastes, right, in your first tab here is Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, the back of that list, it's best to actually flip to this next tab, Song of Solomon, open that up, and then you actually just go right to Ecclesiastes. Okay, so instead of flipping to the Psalm tab and then trying to flip through all those books to get to Ecclesiastes, just go to the first book on the next section and then flip backwards. So we could even do that here in the New Testament. I'll give you an example of that as well. So let's see here. I want to go to Luke. My pastor's in Luke on Sunday morning. And, he's there already. He's got his Bible open. He's ready to go. Instead of trying to flip through Matthew and Mark to get to Luke, just flip to John. Okay. So there's that. And then boom, you've got Luke 24 right there. And then you can flip back into Luke. So it's a little cheat sheet for you. That was free of charge. The red letter in this is very beautiful. It's a darker red. This is actually literally the best red I've ever seen in a Holman Bible, period. I have my thin line over there. I should get it. But literally in every other edition I've seen Holman do, the red letter is orange. And if you're a Holman Bible user, you know what I'm talking about. It's not even really a red. It's like an orange leaning or pretending to be a red, which doesn't bother me. I mean, it still is different enough from the black, but it's not red letter. So there's really red. Actually, give me 1 second. I will run over there and get that thin line. All right. Sorry about that. But I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you can see here, this is definitely more of an orange red compared to the other red. So while it's not horrible, it's not a red color by any means. I'll flip to maybe there we go. So it's definitely more orangish than it is red. But in this one, this red is absolutely fantastic. Again, I think the best red I've seen in a Holman. Now, I think this is with a lot of their new editions, like their single column or their handcrafted series. It's all the same thing. So that's pretty much the whole of the main Bible. So you have those charts, you have in-text maps, illustrations, you have a 2-column format, verse by verse. Very beautiful layout. Your references are on the outside column. Study notes on the bottom, linked with bold figure references, not actually keyed into the text. And your references off to the side as well are bold figure reference with the verse, chapter and verse number. Although the keys are in the individual verses to tell you, if you have multiple references per verse, you have to have something to tell the difference there. Here's a cool one from Romans 6. So if you know your Bible well, that's a verse there on baptism at the beginning. Paul talking about, we are dead in our sins, and baptism is a picture of this death and burial and resurrection of Christ that we experience with him. And so here's a picture of an actual ancient baptistry. I think that's pretty cool. I love how it's in the shape of a cross. And you could probably dunk people from 2 ways in that one. Just get them from everywhere. Now, every book begins on a new page, which is also a great thing. So if you're a note taker, again, you may have some more sections here at the back of the books to take some more notes on. It's not like that in every single book, but you do get some books with larger space. Or for example, right there, you get a whole blank page on the back. You could use that as a summary of the book of Corinthians, or just maybe a sermon outline or a book outline here that you want to write in and put in. So again, just a really awesome. I've really enjoyed using this. I've had this for probably over a week, and I've used it every day in devotions and studying and bringing it to church, and it's a really fun Bible to use. Want to see what the notes look like, if they do they have anything about the rapture or something in here. Okay, here's a note. So 4:15 through 17. So let's read that. Okay, so it says here, "For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain until the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, and with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with him in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words." Beautiful, beautiful verse. But this says here, the word that Paul received relates to what has been called the rapture. It refers to the event when believers who are alive at the Lord's coming are caught up in the clouds to meet him, to meet the Lord in the air. The term rapture is derived from rapturo, the Latin translation of the Greek term. The Vulgate reads rapamir, another form of the same verb. The Greek term means to snatch or take away suddenly. Paul referred to this event as a mystery, some truth previously hidden but now known, and said it would happen in the twinkling of an eye. We which are alive implies that Paul thought the rapture could occur at any moment, even during his lifetime. Prevent in this context means proceed. So you see, it goes on. So it does take, it does take a slightly dispensational view there of the end times as far as the rapture is concerned. I don't know how that affects how they view necessarily Israel and the church in the latter age, but again, I only been using it for a week, so I've just looked up some more key references on some different things, but as I use this more, I probably will chime in a little bit more on more nuanced views that it takes. Now, when we get to the back here, get through Revelation, okay, you have this table of weights and measures. You have a King's English, which is a glossary, so for terms that are old or out of use. Some of these are, really not out of use, but then some of them are, and it's good to have that information back there. And then once you're done with the glossary, you get to the Concordance, and the Concordance is put in 3 columns. And also, it is a concordance / dictionary on proper names. So when you run into a proper name like Abraham or something like that, it actually will give a definition. So for example here, Mary, since there's multiple Marys, you have mother of Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Mary mother of James and Joseph, sister of Martha and Lazarus. So you have a little bit of a definition for proper names. Then what I really love, a couple things I love at the end of the study Bible that I think are superior over the Thomas Nelson one. And I don't know why Thomas Nelson didn't do this, because in a lot of their other Bibles they have this, but the Holman has a daily Bible reading plan. This takes you through the Bible in 1 year, divided into 52 weeks. Okay, 1 week, obviously, 52 weeks in a year. And then it breaks down your week from starting with Sunday all the way through Saturday. So on Sunday, you actually read the Psalms throughout this plan. So you just keep reading the Psalms. And then, so Sunday you'd read Psalm, if you're on the first week, Psalm 1 through 4. You read the first 4 Psalms. Monday you would read Genesis 1 through 2. Tuesday, 3 through 5. Wednesday, Genesis again. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And you start again. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And so you go through this. And you should read, I think, the Psalms probably twice. Let me see if it says. Oh, it doesn't look like it says twice. So maybe this just gets you through the Bible. Yep, looks like it's through the Bible completely through one time. There. And then this also has additional readings as well. And then you get a 3-year reading plan. So if you want to take a slower pace here, this gives you just the week. So it doesn't break down all the weeks in 3 years. But here you'd have week 1. Okay, you need to read Genesis 1 through 6. So chapters 1 through 6 in the Old Testament. And you need to read Matthew 1 and 2 in the New Testament. Week 2, you need to read Genesis 7 through 13. And then in the New Testament, Matthew 3 through 4. So interesting 3-year plan. So if you want to take a easier route, you could do that. Then you also get, there's some art credits here for illustrations, photographs, and stuff like that. But then you get a good comprehensive notes section here in the back, which I think is awesome to have in a study Bible. Because if you're going to be studying out of a study Bible, it'd be nice to take your own personal notes in the back of it. And I counted this out earlier, but I think you have 14 pages, so I think that's 7 back and front. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 7 pages. So you have 14 back and front. So that's a good amount of note paper in the back. You will take your own personal reflections or make it indexed notes, however you want to do. And then another feature I really love that they did with this Bible is that instead of printing the maps on a super thick cardstock, they actually printed them on Bible paper. And this is a super non-glossy matte Bible paper. So these are very easy to read. The maps are very easy to read. There aren't many maps back here because there's already a ton of maps throughout the study Bible. But this gives you a general idea of what they look like. And the reason why I love this, the thinner paper, is because if you have a Bible with thick cardstock pages, you know, and if you've used it for any length of time, you know that's the first thing where those pages start to rip out compared to the rest of the Bible. Those thick in sheets are heavy, and when they're open to the back multiple times, they end up ripping out first. Okay, so I'm glad that they use these lighter papers. That means it has less strain on the binding. So I think with a thinner paper, you're actually going to have a stronger binding in the long haul. Now, if I'm wrong about that, feel free to correct me. But I definitely think that's going to be the case with this Bible, and I really love that they put it on thinner Bible paper. So that is the in-depth review here of the King James Study Bible produced by Holman, the Black Goatskin Indexed Edition. Now, if you are on a budget but you want this Bible, they do sell it in cheaper editions, but they're not cheap. They're really nice. They have a navy blue imitation leather that has a blue and gold ribbon. They have a brown leather soft one, and then they have this goatskin one, and then they have their handcrafted one, which is a goatskin cover with the red under art gilding, and they also have it in hardback. So there are different options if you do want the study Bible and you don't necessarily need a nice cover. There are more cost-effective options out there. So, well, this review has been a blessing to you. If you have any questions about the review or anything I missed, please leave them in the comments, and please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Helps us just reach more people and be able to show more people Bibles. So, hope you all have a great night. Take care and God bless.